Sorry about the little delay. We ran over in our other meeting. So, committee, we are deliberating on the higher ed budget. And where did that go? So first thing we'll do is I handed each of you a request from Kansas State and Emporia State for a proviso in the budget for authorizing them to do some bonding. Are there any questions on that? Senator Petty.
So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for this information. My only question, is this some new information, or, I mean, did this come in the original request material that we received?
No, this is new, and I think there's folks here that could speak to it if you have questions on either one of them or both of them. Matt, would you want to come up and just briefly touch on the proposal from K-State?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for the question. So this would be bonding authority that would be paid by revenue funds that are generated for the housing at K-State, and this would go towards renovation of the Strong Complex, and that would be the three halls, Boyd Hall, Putnam Hall, and Van Zyl Hall. So these are some of the oldest housing, student housing on campus. So this would be a project to restore those homes so that or those residence halls so that we can move students back into those locations.
Any other questions for Matt? Seeing none, thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Also, I think we have someone from Emporia State.
There it goes. Ours is a HVAC chiller kind of replacement system. We did an ESCO study through Train Corporation to replace aging HVAC systems throughout the campus to consolidate. It's $10.2 million for the cost. The efficiency saved will produce about $700,000 a year, which will pay for the interest on the bond going forward. So it's something that will kind of pay for itself. We're going to go ahead with and do it regardless if we get the bonding authority, but we thought we'd seek the bonding authority to cover that in case.
Any questions for Greg? Seeing none, thank you for being here today, Greg. Has everyone had a chance to look at these? Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion we approve a bonding authority for K-State and Emporia State.
Have a motion, second. Senator Fagg. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Senator Alley. What? That's fine.
Mr. Chairman, we have certainly a long list of requests. And what I would like to do, I'm going to hold for just a moment.
If you want it. You're fine. Work off this. Okay, Senator Fagg.
Mr. Chairman, since everybody's working here, I had one that was typed up here for discussion.
Okay.
The third one down on our list is public universities need-based aid for students, bring Kansas to regional states average. I would like to delete that. I think we have a needs-based program now There was conversation a couple of years ago where we put these things together, and now we're starting to do things out here again. And I think we've got a good program with what we do. And so, you know, my item would be that would be one item that we would delete on this system. So,
Okay,
questions on that?
questions? Senator Petty?
I certainly don't agree with that. I think we've had a lot of information provided to show that, well, one, we as a state have reduced our investment in higher education over the last 25 years. And we really know that we need our kids to have the opportunity to, because a high school diploma is not going to get you anywhere in today's world. And so the needs-based aid is investing in students' opportunities to obtain a bachelor's degree. We're out of sync with I believe we had information provided, even a chart showing how we don't even compare. We're very much below the region in what we are now doing. The average in our region is $739 per student. So this is a definite, it helps all of our region's institutions, all of our higher ed institutions to attract students, our public institutions, and I think it's an absolute necessity that we be looking at how we can keep our young people in Kansas, and this is one of the ways, because we know if they go to school here, they're going to stay here.
Senator Fagg?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My thought process with that is that the $35 million that we have in the comprehensive grant program should be taking care of all Kansas kids. And a second part of this I had was maybe to offset what you're talking about, maybe putting $5 million into the comprehensive grant. And that's a one-for-one match, so that'd put us up to 10. So we're kind of headed the right direction with that. So I just feel like that our goals should be staying funneled into that comprehensive grant program. And it's got a lot of good factors to that of what we should be doing. So that was kind of my second part. Senator Petty was
Senator Petty.
trying to help that part. When we separate them out and start playing different games here, we don't know what the 14 million guidelines are versus the 35 million. There's all kinds of questions I have in that.
Well, I don't have those questions, but I do think a very good piece of information that we saw is how we compare our regions. We are well below any of our neighboring states at $208. And when we have even Texas as high as $1,000. So we're nowhere in the ballpark. And so I applaud the regions for bringing this forward, as well as for the governor approving it, because unless we look at helping our students to stay in Kansas and get a higher education, we're not helping to grow the economy in Kansas.
Senator Fagg?
I'll reiterate that we already covered that with one comprehensive grant program. So why do we need to start another one? And we don't know what the ramifications or the guidelines are to the 14 million. Our whole thing a couple of years ago was to try to stay focused on one to keep it simple. So that's where I'm at. And I would feel like that we should delete that. And then I'll follow up with an add to 5 million to the comprehensive grant. That is a one-for-one match. That'd make that 10. And if you guys want to increase it from 5 to something else, you could, but that was kind of my thoughts.
We have a motion. Is there any other discussion? Senator Petty?
I'm not sure the motion is 5 million. The motion is delete. What is the motion? I'm sorry.
Senator Fagg?
The first motion, I was just telling you what my follow-up motion would be. My first motion would be to delete item, the needs-based aid for students, the 14.1 $14,150,000 note. That's new money and shows recurring, and I would be marking that one off.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second by Senator Alley. Any other questions? Senator Petty.
I just will say again, I think this is very short-sighted. I think we do need to be investing in our higher education, our public higher education institutions. We all sat through the presentations and know that they are not only providing great coursework now, but looking to the future to have those programs that will, give our students the skills and the abilities to be very productive citizens and grow the economy in Kansas. But we also know that we're not getting richer in Kansas, we're getting poorer, and as far as our average income is. And so this need-based aid is one way to help bring us up closer to the average, the region that our surrounding states, the average student aid. And we just listened to a bunch of budgets where we put in money for a lot of different reasons. And one of them was for salaries for law enforcement, for KPI. We're not going to keep these people here, our young people here wanting to invest in Kansas if we don't help them to have a quality education. And this is, I think we're being short-sighted if we remove this funding. So I'm totally against this motion.
Any other questions or seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Okay, Senator Bagg.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I've got another one. I'll pass this one down here. I'll give you time to read this, and I'll kind of talk while we're there. We all care about Kansas kids. That's why we're increasing that. I would tell you, if you look at the comprehensive plan of what we had like 4 or 5 years ago, we've made tremendous strides in that area. And would I like to do more? Absolutely. But I think with our one-to-one match that goes into that 35 million versus what we're doing with this, we are helping our kids, we are moving forward, and we're keeping it simple. So there's just a lot of good things about the comprehensive grant. So in this motion here, I'm saying that we increase $5 million from 35 to 40 to help what you're talking about, Senator. And then I also have a proviso in here about that all expenditures from the comprehensive grant account for fiscal year 2025 include expenditures of all monies appropriated in section 116A of chapter 82 of the 2023 session law of Kansas shall be made by the above agency in the manner distributed. That'd be 50% of such monies to state educational institutions as defined in KSA 76-711 and amendments thereto, and Washburn University, and 50% to the not-for-profit independent institution higher education is defined as a Kansas educational institution for KSA 74-32-120 as amended thereto. And then also for FY26, you can read that information down there. So what I'm trying to do is get a proviso in there that kind of puts us back on that 50-50. We've all been down that road, but having that proviso in there, and I think putting another $5 million in that comprehensive grant is what I would like to do. So that would be my motion.
Okay, I have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Senator Alley. Discussion, Senator Petty.
Well, so I'm going to ask that we, I don't know. So actually we have multiple things in here. We have $5 million for comprehensive grants in 25. Why do we have $5 million in here for 25 and 26? I'm a little lost there. I thought we were dealing with 24 and 25 budgets.
Senator Fagg.
So we'd be adding $5 million.
Right. Her question is, why is it showing up in 26 then if we're doing it in 25?
This was written up by the revisers last night, at 26. I would take it to 26 adding 5 at that time too.
So we're adding 5 for 2 years? Senator Petty?
Aren't we dealing with 24 and 25 budgets? What, are we dealing with 26 budgets?
No, but
So, okay, so I'm going to ask them to divide the question. So we're dealing just with 25 budget, not 26 budget.
Can you answer that? Do you know? David wrote this up for me. The 26, I kind of questioned too and haven't had time to visit with you.
Chairman, so you can provide funding for the future scholarships because the governor has recommended some scholarships, including the comprehensive grant for 2026. So it's not uncommon to do it for both years in the budget year.
thank you, Brianna. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed, I'm no.
Okay. You want to be recorded? Yes. Brianna, she wanted to be recorded, thank you. Senator Fagg? Oh, okay. Senator Alley?
I'd like to move to our community colleges first. And on our community college, I move that we insert $5 million for the capital outlay for the 10 community colleges who do not receive capital outlay, and then divide that by the full-time equivalent students. The 10.5 for the technical colleges operating grant, 1.5 million for each technical college to support the inclusion of 14.3 for the business and industry apprenticeship programs. And I understand that there'll be something coming, a recommendation from the Senate Commerce Committee when they report out to the full committee this week. These three items return the two-year colleges to the fiscal year 24 legislative approved funding amount and reverse the cuts recommended by the governor. So that would be my first motion.
Motion, do we have a second? Senator Fagg seconds. Question, Senator Petty?
I just need clarification. So it seems there were 3 parts to this motion. Was the first part to put back in $5 million to the community
Senator
colleges?
Alley?
In community colleges?
Yes.
And then the second part was to put in the 10.5 for operating grants with the technical colleges?
Senator Alley?
That is correct.
And then what was the third?
Then the third had the inclusion of the 14.3 million for the business and industry apprenticeship funds. That was the last portion of that.
Is that, sorry, Mr. Chairman, is that 14.5? Is that actually?
23, I think is what it says here, but I may be off.
Oh, 14.3, okay.
Yeah. And that brings it back to the 24 level.
Thank you.
Okay, and you said, are you on the, you mentioned commerce.
Well, the this industry grant, the Department of Commerce, or the Senate Commerce Committee is supposed to have a report out this week on that.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
And to continue that, to bring the community college system up to where they were in last year and take away the funding that had been removed by the governor with the enhancement of 4.7 million. So that includes 3.3 million for Senate Bill 155 and 1.7 million for student success. And with these two motions, the total result of these will only be $1.7 million more than the 24 legislative approved amount. And that includes the addition of the Senate 155 funds that the governor had also recommended. So this will bring a funding back. So I make that motion for the second portion of the motion.
We have a motion, a second by Senator Fagg. Questions on this? Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Senator Fagg.
Mr. Chairman, if there isn't anything else that needs to come up, I would recommend that when you look at the 2025 Regent System Unified Appropriation Request, like 3 items on there. There's a Fort Hays State University professional workforce development that I'd like to see that we approve, and I've got $2 million beside that. And then there's one that's KSU Vet Medicine Center Animal Diagnostic Laboratory for new state facility of $250,000. I've got that one earmarked. And then I've got Washburn University Manufacturing Training Center for $3 million. That was not in the governor's budget, but I think that that should be on our list to include. And then the rest of the items that's here, I would say that we put it off to omnibus to be reviewed at that time.
Okay, Senator, yeah, is that a motion? Yes. Okay, we have a second? Senator Alley? Okay, questions? Now we got a motion, a second. Okay, Senator Petty.
Thank you. So okay, I see Washburn Manufacturing Training Center at $3 million. I see KSU's Animal Diagnostic Laboratory at $250,000. And then you mentioned something about Fort Hays State, I believe, but I lost track of what you were talking about.
That was,
What was your first one? Sorry. What was your very first part of your recommendation, Senator Fagg?
I had 2 million written on my sheet.
For what?
That's the number I had with that.
For what?
For the Fort Hays State Professional Workforce Development Education, alternative credentials. And
750,000.
right,
750,000.
there's 750 in the budget. The governor didn't show anything.
Correct, but it's 750,000.
I'm,
It's 750,000
right.
for 3 years. Yeah, well. A lot of them are.
Yep. Right.
Is that where you? So could I ask if in that amendment, then if you're saying of Fort Hays State, the professional workforce development, if you're going to say 2 million, could you say over 3 years? I don't think it included that in your, did you say 3 years?
I don't think it's for 3 years, but 2 million.
Could you,
It's, the 3 years was more money.
I'm not, sorry, I'm not being clear here. So I'm trying to understand whether you're asking for professional workforce development at Fort Hays State for 2 million for a one-time or 2 million over a 3-year period?
I think Fort Hays is here if somebody would like to come up. Introduce yourself.
Tisa Mason, President of Fort Hays State University. Thank you. Thank you for consideration. When we went to the Kansas Board of Regents with this request, the request was for $1 million over 3 years. They asked us to negotiate it down, so we negotiated it down to $275,000 over 5 years, which is more than $3 million if you do the math. But we are grateful for any way you want to slice that pie so that we can move forward swiftly with our initiative that will benefit the state.
So on the sheet, it was 3 years at 750,000.
5 years.
Oh, 5 years, okay.
Right? Yeah, 5 years. It was 1 million over 3 years, negotiated down to 275,000 for 5 years. The more upfront money, the faster we can go and operating. So again, any way you slice it, we are thrilled to have an opportunity to move forward.
Okay, we were working off the sheet that we received from Regents,
Okay.
and it said 3 years. So I
Okay.
guess, thank you. Any other questions for Tisa? President Mason? No, okay. Senator Fagg.
Mr. Chairman, I'm open for, I just know that we want to take care of this program. So whatever we think as a committee would be the right thing, I'm open for suggestions on that. So.
Senator Alley.
If I heard, thank you, Mr. Chair. If I heard right, it was 5 years, 750,000. I recommend that we go 5 years, 750,000 for the professional workshop development.
Okay. We have a second? Senator Fagg seconds, so 5 years, 750. Okay. Discussion, Senator Fagg.
So when I look at this list here, it says recurring one time, it says 3 years here. So if that's saying 3 years and we're going 5 years, I'm a little lost on that.
5 years.
I-
750,000 over a 5-year period.
That's what the president said, correct? Senator Petty.
So I'm going to move on to the rest of that motion that was offered. So there were 3 items that were mentioned. We've now clarified the Fort Hays State Professional Workforce Development Initiative. But then there was then the rest of the motion was to, if I understood it correctly, to put off everything else that's on this sheet to look at when we put the budget together?
Senator Fagg.
Yes, and that would be based on what items we took off of there and discussed, coming into that. So the junior college stuff, the 3 items I mentioned, the needs-based thing, that comes out of the picture, and then the rest of it would be in omnibus.
Senator Petty.
And so are you including everything that is funded in the governor's budget?
Senator Fagg.
Yes.
Senator Petty.
So then I'm to understand that we're actually, if this motion passes, that we're putting in funding for community colleges, putting in funding for technical colleges, we're putting in something for Washburn, something for Kansas State, something for Fort Hays State, and we're not funding anything else?
Senator Fagg,
We'd be looking at the governor's budget of what she had, and be looking at those items and then looking at this in omnibus.
Yeah, I think what he was saying is we're approving the governor's budget, adding these items to it that you just mentioned, and we're going to look at the rest of those items. Is that correct? When we do the
I love
budget.
this clarification because that's not what I heard the first time. So I'm going to reiterate this. So we have the governor's budget and we are adding 3 items, well, we're adding 3 items at Regents Institution, 2 items at Regents Institution, 1 at Fort Hays, 1 at KSU, and then 1 at Washburn, and then and then 3 items dealing specifically with community college, technical colleges. And then, that's for approval, and then we're adding onto that to look at the other items that were unfunded when we put the budget together. Is this correct?
Senator Frag, I think that's correct.
Thank you so much.
Senator Alley.
My hearing aids must not be working. My understanding was we approved the ones we just talked about, the 3 in the community college. We deleted 1 that was in Senator Fagg's first motion. The balance of those under the governor's budget would be looked at omnibus, and are not approving them at this time. Is that correct?
That's correct, unless there's anything else on that list that you guys are wanting to look at now, or?
I think we need some more time to look at those.
Senator Petty.
Okay. I don't have hearing aids, but I do want to hear what's going on here. So we have increased state investment in the Kansas Nursing Initiative, governor's budget. We have the continued prior investment in student success and retention, governor's recommendation. We have continued prior support of cybersecurity and IT infrastructure under the governor's budget. We have continued IT cybersecurity for the 2-year community colleges under the governor's budget. I can go down this whole list. Everything that's listed under the governor's budget is we are approving, along with the Fort Hays State, Kansas State University, and Washburn. And we are looking at the other items at when we put the budget together.
That's correct. And if you want to look at the list, I just borrowed Senator Alley's because I left mine in my office and didn't want to take any more time from this committee. So we would consider at packaging the budget, we'll consider Emporia State's phase out cost of $5 million. We'll look at Fort Hays State's apprenticeship at $220,000. We will look at Kansas State University's Digital Analytics Institute for $2 million. We'll look at K-State's Central Immersive Training Hub for $2 million. We will look at Pittsburgh State Science Lab upgrades with a 1-by-1 match of $5 million. That's what's left on the list that the governor did not approve that we want to look at closer at when we do the budget.
Thank you for that.
Everything else is included.
Thank you so much.
Okay, no more questions? Okay.
Chairman,
Senator Alley, maybe I misunderstood what your motion was.
maybe I'll can be a little clearer with this. We have the third item down, public universities, deleted the 14.15. We then went to the Fort Hays State Professional Workforce Development, and that was for $750,000 over 5 years. We then went to Kansas State University Medical Center, Veterinary Medical Center, a $250,000 one-time. And then we went to the Washburn Manufacturing Training Center, $3 million one time. And then, then we had the community college for an enhancement of 4.17, which included 3.3 for Senate Bill 155 and 1.7 for student success. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would say my motion would be to approve those and consider the balance of the request at our mega bill.
We've approved the community college stuff.
Right.
So now we're going to approve the other three items?
Those are the three and this one.
And then the one, okay. Didn't we approve the one on top?
Yes, we did.
We did, so it's just the three.
Three items there.
Okay, and to review the others.
Right.
Okay, so that's the motion, is to approve the three items that were suggested and review the balance at all of us. Okay, so we have a motion by Senator Alley and second by Senator Fagg. Senator Petty.
Well, I hope that you all are listening in the audience, because now we have actually deleted from funding everything that was approved in the governor's budget under your requests, except for one item for Fort Hays State, one item for K-State, and one item from Washburn. Otherwise, nothing is in this budget. Oh, the community college was a separate thing, and so was the change in the need, and the deletion of the need-based aid for students. So anything else that you had on your list of items that were, and we know we have such an issue with when it comes to public health in our state as far as having nurses, and we've now eliminated that in several places. So I'm understanding this now very well. I thought we were doing something reasonable, but now I can't. It just seems so unreasonable that we're only approving 3 items and not approving anything else.
Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That is correct. We approved the 3 items. We approved the earlier motion and approved the community college item. The rest of the items will be considered an omnibus bill. That was the motion that I made.
Okay, so we have that motion and a second by Senator Fagg. So everything else is looked at omnibus. So you're just adding these on, the 3? Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed?
No, and I want to be recorded.
Motion carries. Is there any other work? I guess we're done for today. Thank you. We're adjourned.